Everything you need to know about wealth building can be summarized in one sentence. Spend less than what you earn and then invest those savings wisely. But over time, one does realize that this version of wealth building is too simplified, and it's not as much about knowing what to do as it is about getting it done in the right manner. Like in my case, it took me a pretty long time to figure that out. I used to think that wealth creation was merely a series of financial techniques, the what's to and the how to's. But with experience, I figured that it's our own behavior that comes and becomes our biggest obstacle in attaining one's financial goals. And so in this video, we shall inscribe a set of 10 wealth building commandments that have been passed to us via the aggregate experience of our team here at ET Money. You might be already knowing a number of them, but then these are timeless principles in wealth generation. So a periodic review of these is always welcome, especially as it can help you prime for financial success. Let's begin. Irrespective of whether a person is rich or poor, if he or she is going to be spending more than what one earns, then there is no real basis for wealth creation. Conspicuous consumption, the urge to have the latest iPhone, a vacation home, expensive watches, etc., is something that affects people across income levels. A lot of it comes from social media, Facebook, Instagram, and the purpose of showing you that ostentatious lifestyle is to get you to part away from your hard-earned money. But contrary to the social view, most legitimately wealthy people live quite modestly. As a matter of fact, a majority of people who have attained their financial independence have done so by spending less than their income and investing the rest sensibly. An extension to living within one's means is to use debt sparingly and judiciously. In fact, when we go back to the rich dad, poor dad lessons, there's a lot of wisdom there when Robert Kiyosaki says that debts can be good debts and they can also be bad debts. Debts are good when the money borrowed is used to purchase assets that earn or appreciate, which then allows you to make more money. On the other hand, borrowing money for buying items whose value goes down does not make much sense and are often the product of impulse or emotional buys. Unfortunately, financial products like credit cards, EMIs, and buy now, pay later offerings, while beautifully marketed, do their bit to accelerate our financial miseries. So try to reach a debt-free life and, more importantly, aim to spend less than what you earn. Hi, we've just launched ET Money Genius and I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions on it. So next week, join me as I put together everything one needs to know about Genius in a video. What it is, how does Genius help you, the different portfolios across mutual funds and stocks, how have they performed, the charges, etc. You'll learn quite a bit in the process and hopefully you'll want to be a Genius member by the time we are done. So do subscribe to our channel and tap the bell icon for an alert on when we release that video. See you there. The inherent limit in pursuing external goals like having a fancy house, $1 billion business, a private jet, etc. is quite simply your motivation behind pursuing them. In the same context, for one to succeed in wealth building, you want to be driven by deeper internal goals rather than just the external trappings of chasing wealth. You see, money in itself is a very shallow motivator. The more you have it, the less interesting it becomes. Now, building wealth requires focus and motivation comes from internalizing your goals. For instance, a deeper goal for wealth building can be to break away from the 9-to-5 template and to have more freedom in your life. Similarly, you can seek other deeper goals like sponsoring charitable causes, or maybe you want to contribute your time, pursue some educational opportunities, etc. This can be an endless list, but the reason for you wanting to build wealth should be something that is worthy and deep-rooted to you. This not only keeps you motivated, but will also ensure that you can withstand life's many distractions that often come in the way to what you want to accomplish for yourself. We are always told to work hard, good grades, long hours, more productivity, etc. But what has been a light bulb moment, at least for me, is the observation that your money can generate a lot more wealth when compared to what you can make by actively working 5 to 6 hours a week. Now, this can happen in many ways. For example, it's truly possible for the annual dividend that you receive today on some of the shares you bought many years back can be more than what you paid for those shares. Similarly, if anyone has been investing in the public provident fund for many years, would realize that by year 7, 8 or 9, the interest one earns on the PPF balance is a lot more than the 1.5 lakhs that one is allowed to invest in a financial year. There are many examples like this, but unfortunately, most of us realize the working power of money only after experiencing a few dramatic examples, which might take 5, 10, maybe 20 years to reach us. So the moral of this story is, wealth building can be accelerated by putting your savings into play as soon as possible. And this need not be a large sum of money. For example, a 25-year-old can start his or her journey by saving just 1,000 rupees every month. In fact, here's a formula that you can teach to any 25-year-old, which is an investment of 1,000 rupees every month, which increases by just 100 rupees every year when invested for the next 35 years at an annual return of 12%, which is entirely possible, fetches you a little over 1 crore rupees. Now, what makes this 1 crore really sweet is that the actual investment made was only 11 lakh rupees, which means almost 90% of the wealth was generated by virtue of your money working really hard to deliver the right results for you. Irrespective of what you do, whether it is studying for an exam, driving to the office, or building wealth, to go from point A to point B requires three basic things. You need skill, you need discipline, and you need time to achieve it. Of these three elements, time is probably the one that you have the least control of. I mean, look at it this way. When a younger person looks at someone rich, say a rich uncle, the young one would say, hey, this guy has made a lot of money. But the poor guy does not have much time to enjoy it. And in the same way, the uncle might look at you and say, oh, my nephew has no money right now, but fortunately he has a lot of time. And that's why we think time is a valuable and quantifiable resource when it comes to wealth building. In that context, if you start early with your investments and savings, then you won't have to save as much later because you've allowed your money a longer runway. But if you're discovering this now in your 40s or 50s, then your investments don't have the time to blossom, which means you need to make a lot more sacrifices to save more. This relationship between time and money is something everyone needs to be respectful of and can make a big difference on how much wealth you create for yourself. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces out there when it comes to wealth building. This entire idea of turning a rupee into 10 rupees can seem a tall ask at first, and it probably is, but on a mathematical basis, all it needs you to do is to compound your money every year at 26% for the next 10 years. So say you start with a corpus of 1 lakh rupees and invest it somewhere that gives you a return on investment of 26% per annum. If this annual rate of 26% were to continue for many 10-year periods, then 1 lakh becomes 10 lakhs in 10 years, 10 lakhs is a crore over the next 10 years, 1 crore becomes 10 crores, 10 is 100 crores in the next 10 years, and 100 crores would grow up to 1000 crores over the next 10 years, all assuming that you have an investment vehicle that delivers an average CAGR of 26%. Net, a lakh of rupees can become 1000 crores over 50 years at an annual compounding rate of 26%. Now, hopefully the question that's bothering you is, how can one earn 26% every year for the next 50 years? If you're thinking about this in a non-condescending tone, then well done, because if history is our guide, there have been quite a few companies that have been massive wealth creators in the past. Of course, I'm in no way saying that identifying companies like Infosys, Pidilite and Bajaj Finance in their early days is an easy job. But the point of this exercise for us is to appreciate the importance of compounding as a wealth creation engine. As a matter of fact, here are some simple compounding strategies that one can start using today. For instance, a monthly investment of 15,000 rupees at 15% per annum for 15 years gives you a crore in wealth. The same combination of monthly investment and rate of return, but over a 30-year period would give us a corpus of 10 crores and take care of the retirement needs for most people watching this video. Now, if we were to lower our expectations to say 12%, then here are some combinations that one can try out to reach out a corpus of 1 crore. For example, a monthly investment of 10,000 rupees for 20 years at 12% gives you a crore of rupees. So does an investment of 3,000 rupees every month for 30 years. Further, one can also try a slightly different variation, which would require a monthly investment of 5,000 rupees in the initial year that is then upped by 1,000 rupees every year for the next 19 years. That too will get you a crore of rupees, and compounding still would have the lion's share of the contribution, with 2/3 of the money coming from it. Net net, embrace compounding to reach your wealth goals and reach it faster. Leverage is an essential success principle when it comes to building wealth. Well, let's face it, a majority of people, that's like 99% of the people, are not going to get wealthy by trading their time for money. Surely you can work hard, but then you do have a lot of limitations. After all, there are just 24 hours in a day. You need to sleep, spend time with the family, your capital is limited. And of course, there are limits to one's knowledge and skills. This is where leverage comes in, which is the smarter way of building wealth. Now, leverage can be of many types. There is financial leverage, which is what our fund managers and banks do by using other people's money to earn money for themselves. And then there is time leverage, where you can accomplish a lot more within the day by outsourcing work to employees and freelancers. There is the technology leverage that allows us to get a lot more done with a lot less effort and for a lot more people. And then there is the network leverage, which is what a platform like YouTube utilizes. And there are many more such extended use cases for leverage, which allows people who use it to achieve a lot more beyond one's own limitations. I really like this quote by Robert Kiyosaki, who said, "Leverage is the reason why some people become rich, and it is also the reason why some people do not become rich." So go ahead and find some leverage. All of us would have been compared at some point of time. In school, in college, on the playground, at work. And as one gets a little older, the focus shifts inwards, and many of us start comparing ourselves with our batchmates' title, their foreign assignments, how much money is he or she making, etc. In the context of wealth building, this comparison mindset only leads to limiting beliefs on one's own capabilities, and those little insecurities start whispering around the ears. For instance, your self-talk would say something like, if only I could have 10 crores in my bank account, फिर मेरा भी life set हो जाएगा. The problem with a statement like this is that contentment is a moving goalpost, and as people come closer to their goals, they seem to start drifting away from it and towards other money targets which were not there earlier. This is where contentment is important, and one needs to be more deliberate and purposeful in what makes one happy. How much money, which experiences, what projects, and what actions would enrich your life. So if you haven't done this yet, take out a piece of paper and write down your goals for the next 5 years from a wealth building perspective. What you need to achieve, how much you need to achieve, by when will you get there, how will you achieve it, and most importantly, how are you going to reward yourself when you reach it. Never in the history of mankind has creating wealth been this easy. Today, at the click of a button, you can invest in stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, gold bonds, fixed deposits, and hundreds of other instruments. The issue with all this convenience comes up when people get caught in the frenzy of what they perceive as easy money. New and largely untested areas like cryptocurrencies, NFTs, meme stocks, green technologies, SPACs, BNPL, etc. can sometimes make money feel a lot more fake and disconnected. But money is still very much money, and if history is our guide, whenever retail investors fall for these shortcuts and unprepared assets, they are often the ones who come out on the wrong side of a transaction. But having said this, for every shortcut seeker, there's always one successful person who has made his million by simply following time-tested money principles. As a matter of fact, we came across some data around this that says that the age at which most people in the United States become millionaires is 49 years, and a majority of them made their million using their employer retirement plans. So they didn't use cryptos, they didn't use forex futures or some other mumbo jumbo, but instead they used the slow, boring and systematic way of wealth creation. The The point is, being boring and effective is any day better than approaching wealth building in an exciting but ineffective manner. At the end of the day, it's a game of probabilities and is something that anyone who's interested in wealth building needs to master. Anyone who's watching this video is already a step ahead of many others who are not learning the essentials of money management. Yes, there was a time when the availability of knowledge was scarce, but that's no longer a problem with an almost unlimited number of websites, social media platforms, and education apps chasing us to consume their content in ever-evolving formats. I mean, information is more accessible and affordable than ever in the history of mankind, and for people who aren't taking advantage of that are missing out on a wonderful opportunity. So make sure that you are a lifelong learner of financial concepts, and to help you out, we have compiled a list of resources that you can check out from time to time in the description of this video. I read somewhere that the wealth you make is a function of the value you provide. It's something that just stuck with me, and what I think the author was trying to convey is that the proportion of money one makes is highly correlated to the value one provides. For example, the top management of the company often receives 50, 60, even 100 times more compensation than the entry-level staffer. Likewise, companies that offer something that the consumer needs and desires are valued at a lot more than the ones that offer the more generic stuff. In that context, your own wealth building quest should revolve around the principle of what can you create that gives a lot more value to the user than any other person. Do you have a skill, a monetizable skill that makes you among a handful of people in the country? Skills like singing, selling, cooking, coaching, writing, entertaining, all can be monetized, leveraged, and can become excellent vehicles of wealth creation. In other words, don't be one of the billionth people in our land, but try to be one in a billion. I like to end this video with a quote that I picked up while reading a newsletter yesterday evening. It said, "If you are born poor, you can't control that. But if you die poor, then that's on you." So do try and master some of these wealth building commandments. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done that. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and I look forward to catching up with you next week with another insightful video. Until then.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.